Good afternoon, everyone. 4 o'clock straight up on the East Coast. It is indeed a Wednesday edition of Middays with Q. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quiñones. 2 hours to play with. We will take you up to 6 o'clock straight up. And as always, we are coming at you live inside the friendly confines of our remote Tri-X57 studios. We have a very busy show on this Wednesday, a lot to get into, a lot to dive into. Obviously, baseball, obviously, NBA Finals resuming. We certainly will get into the Stanley Cup Finals, which, I mean, think about this for a moment. You know, the Stanley Cup Finals, which I think ultimately was a great finals. I also thought that you had so many moving parts in that ultimately we've got so many questions that we're going to try to answer. And a lot of those questions now become, if you look at the Florida Panthers, who obviously got the win last night, closed out the Edmonton Oilers in 6 games, get the repeat right now. Are they a dynasty in the making? So we're going to dive into that a little bit today on this Wednesday. I know we should be streaming on Tri-X57, also on their Facebook page as well. So we will definitely double check. I know I see us on our Facebook page, which is fantastic. Hopefully we're streaming on the site as well. But with that being said, as I alluded to, is it a dynasty right now? Is it a dynasty right now if you're the Florida Panthers? And I thought they had a hell of a series. They dispatched Edmonton. We will get into that. We got a lot of baseball to get in today as well, because look, you got the Mets, you got the Phillies, you got the Yankees. They're all struggling. They're all struggling right now. I mean, you cannot, for any reason whatsoever, tell me that those teams are not struggling. They are struggling big time. So we're going to get into some baseball. As I mentioned, you got the NBA Finals resuming tomorrow night. OKC looks to close it out. Get social with us on Tri-X57 on Facebook, IG, and X. Log on to Tri-X57.com, and you can follow me on IG and X at RichQ on Q, and of course on TikTok at RichQ on the mic. We'll get into the WNBA too, because the WNBA, I don't know what the heck is going on with the WNBA. I really don't. I mean, you're at this point right now when you're talking about the WNBA, and it's becoming a joke. It's becoming an absolute joke. You got nonsense going on with the WNBA. Absolutely nonsense. You are kicking a gift horse in the mouth with Caitlin Clark. And we'll open it up as always. You can hashtag MWQ Middays with Q. By the way, because it's a Wednesday, because it is a Wednesday, you know, we try to add different elements to the show. We got the Manolo Mentiroso Lunas Man Up Monday. We got the What the Frick Fridays. Wednesdays right now, we're going to call Wednesdays a Woosah Wednesday, because a lot of times you guys love to chime in and you like to break the bees. That's what you guys do best. You like to break the bees. So I'm looking at this right now. I'm thinking to myself, because it's a Woosah Wednesday, we'll see how long it takes you guys to get under my skin on this day. Because it is a Wednesday, we try to get over the hump. We have a lot of fun. As I mentioned, we got 2 hours to play with. We're on the YouTube channel. We're on Tri-X57. We're on Tri-X57 Facebook page. We're on X as well. We're all over the map, so keep us locked in. All right, so let us start. Stanley Cup Finals, hell of a series, Florida Panthers. I told you yesterday that game had the makings of a 4-2 Florida win. They win it 5-1. You talk about players stepping up. Players stepping up, right? Because did we not talk about this the other day in the NBA? Did we not have this same conversation in the NBA with the NBA Finals and Tyrese Halliburton? Guys that are superstars find ways to step up. Guys that are superstars find ways to step up. And I don't care what sport it is. I don't care if it's hockey. I don't care if it's the NBA. I don't care if it's football, basketball, baseball. You find a way to basically put your teammates on your back. And you say, here we go. Ride with me. We're going all in. I got you covered. Don't worry about it. And we saw that last night from the Florida Panthers. Where we didn't see that last night was with Connor McDavid. And we're going to get into McDavid in a moment and his future, because I think it really bears worth watching what's going to go on with this kid, because he's at the point right now where you're wasting his talents. But this is my original point from last night. I mean, you turn around in that game last night, and not only did the Panthers just run roughshod over the Oilers, not only did they clinch a series in 6, they become the NHL's first back-to-back winners since Tampa Bay in 2020, 2021. You had Sam Reinhart scoring 4 goals. I mean, think about that. I'm going to take this. We're going to lift Lord Stanley. Let's skate together, boys. Here we go. I got it covered. Four goals in a Stanley Cup clinching game, becoming just a 6-player in league history, and the first since my guy, Maurice Rocket Richard, back in 1957 to do that. That team right now is a dynasty. I believe right now the Florida Panthers are a dynasty. And I said this a week or so ago. If they win it again, are we looking at South Florida? Are we looking at Florida as a hockey town? And I believe we are. I believe we are. And I think they've got the talent. They've got the endurance. They got the mental fortitude, the capacity to not only get back there again next year, but to win it a third straight time. I'll give you the opening odds too. We'll talk a little more about the Panthers. Got some comments coming in. As far as McDavid, you're at a crossroads right now, and the man chimes in first. He leads us off on this Wednesday. Yeah, Jesus, he's done in Edmonton. McDavid might be. It's a really interesting case here with McDavid, because you have a great player, you have an all-time great, and if you listen to the subtle comments from Tkachuk last night after the Florida Panthers clinched, they were talking a little bit, reflection, right? And to paraphrase, it was, when you have a player that good and that talented, he, meaning McDavid, is going to win the Stanley Cup one day, wherever it is. Now, you grab that comment and you run with it, because he's a generational talent. You're talking about multiple Hart trophies, Art Ross honors, highlight reel after highlight reel. This drought continues for these Canadian teams. He signed that big contract, 8 years, $100 million contract with the Oilers, which expires at the end of 2025, 2026. So he's eligible to sign a contract extension starting July 1st, 2025. And listen, you got to now talk about the cap. So the projected cap right now is projected to reach about $97 million next season in the NHL. That will play a significant role in the size of this contract, or, lack thereof. But he is a generational talent, and he might be one of those great players, once again, that's just stuck on a team that can't get over the hump and can't win. But I look at this squad right now. I look at the Florida Panthers, and I say, without a doubt, they can get back there. They can get back there. And you already look at the favorites. They're obviously going to be the favorites. Oilers are going to be some of the favorites. Avs, the Canes, they're all going to be the favorites as well. You're talking about the shortest odds. I'll give them to you in a moment. But point is, dynasty now. You've got a dynasty. You've won back-to-back Stanley Cups. It's so hard to do. It is. Now, we believe it's harder to do in the NFL. We believe it's harder to do in the NBA, Major League Baseball. It's still hard to do in hockey. You've got to have everything go right. And Edmonton even when Edmonton had that great comeback down 3, Florida ties it up late. Edmonton wins it in overtime. What was that game? 4. And then the Florida Panthers just came out in game 5, put them away. They didn't relinquish the lead. And then last night, they just skated all over the place. I believe that team's a dynasty. And I know some people look at it subjectively, and they look at a team like the Florida Panthers and say, whoa, hold on a second. But again, all I'm going to say is this. You've got a player like McDavid, if you are the Edmonton Oilers. And the last thing you want to do is let this kid get away. You just can ill afford it. You can ill afford to let this kid. You're talking about a player that's still 27, 28? He is the face of the NFL. He's the face of that franchise. You do not want this kid to get away. You don't. You really don't. And you can look at all the potential way too early landing spots for Connor McDavid. He's got 1 year left remaining on his contract. And as I mentioned, he's going to be eligible to sign a new contract in a couple days. So whether he signs a new deal or not, it should be one of the richest and biggest contracts in NFL, pardon me, no pun intended, NHL history. He's a generational player. He's already one of the best players of all time. So the question is that new contract going to come from the Oilers? And I believe the smart bet is yes. But again, until that contract gets signed, until Connor McDavid wins a championship with the Oilers, there's always going to be speculation regarding his future. So you've got a generational Hall of Fame talent that just can't get over the hump. And he had 2 opportunities in back-to-back seasons to get it done. I'm not putting all the blame on Connor McDavid. Edmonton lost that series because their goaltending stinks. And Florida was just too deep, as you guys alluded to. I mean, they're just too deep, too fast. They did everything right, whether it was killing off the power play, shorthanded goals, power play goals. They were just the better team, period. And I think, again, if you're going to stay with the Oilers, which many believe that will be the likely outcome, then if that's the case, it should be the expected outcome, if that's what we believe. But he's going to cash in. But, man, you do not want a player of that caliber, again, to slip away. Ball 316 afternoon, sports fans. Oh, look at this. Throwing a little curveball on a Woosah Wednesday. Tour de France. There you go. Tour de France, really? Favorite event in the summer? Wow. That's a little outside the box thinking there. Scott chimes in, don't see Edmonton making a second huge mistake since 88, 89. Sure. I mean, we all know what they did that year. You have to keep players happy. When you have generational talent, when you have great players, you got to pay them sometimes, right? And it's kind of the question of the day, right? Do we look at the Florida Panthers and consider this team, this franchise right now, a dynasty? It's very hard to go back to back in any sport. I think it's harder in the NFL because we know it's such a grind. I mean, we talked about this a lot the other day. You've got players, free agency, they get traded, they get released, guys retire, especially if you win a championship. They're looking to go in a different direction. But I think in the NHL, look, you can run it back with pretty much the same roster. You really could. And if you're looking at potential, I'll say this. If we look at all too early odds teams, Toronto is going to be a team that's going to be interested in McDavid. My Rangers are going to be a team. I mean, think about this for a minute. You don't think the NHL for 1 second would love to see one of their biggest stars playing in one of the biggest markets. And again, you're talking if the Rangers can get this kid and pay him, that's a franchise-altering player. You add that to the top of their lineup, I mean, they would go nuts. Now, here's the issue. Rangers have about 10 to 11 million coming off the books next summer. You got to find some money. Then you got Vegas. The Golden Knights are a potential landing spot. Pittsburgh Penguins, hear me out. Pittsburgh Penguins, think about this. You pretty much have gone through the litany, whether it's Mario Lemieux, Super Mario, Yager, Crosby, Malkin. You've kind of ran the gamut of generational players as well over the past 35, 40 years. The legacy of players, maybe that continues with this kid in Pittsburgh. Sarge chimes in, Q, definitely think the Panthers are close to a dynasty. If they can win it again or get one more within the next 2 years, then I label them a dynasty. Good start to the show. Appreciate that, Sarge. I look at Florida and I say you're a dynasty right now. How do you not? Like, what's the criteria, right? What's the criteria? Is that what goes on in the Tour de France? I figured as much, Wild fans, right? What's the criteria we're looking at here? So if the Philadelphia Eagles get back to the Super Bowl and the Philadelphia Eagles go back to back and win it again, and now they've gone to the Super Bowl 3 out of 4 years and they won it 2 out of 4. I mean, do you consider that a dynasty to get to the Super Bowl 3 out of 4 years and win it twice? I think, yeah. They always say you win two within 3 to 5 years. That's considered, that mini dynasty. The days of the Yankees, Golden State Warriors, the Celtics, the Lakers, the Bulls. Jordan doesn't have a cup of coffee in the minor leagues and retires. The Bulls are winning 8 straight. That's beyond a dynasty. That's unprecedented. What the Lakers were doing in the 80s, unprecedented. What the Boston Celtics were doing in the 50s and 60s, unprecedented. Again, with teams like Montreal, the Islanders, the Oilers. The Islanders were a dynasty. The Bossy Islanders were a dynasty in the 80s. The Oilers were a dynasty. They were. Red Wings, I don't know. A lot of guys are chiming in saying they're on the verge of a dynasty. What's it going to take? Is it one more trip to the finals? What if they get back to the finals next year and they lose in 7 games and the Oilers finally win? Or they missed the playoffs in the following year. They get back to the finals and they win it. Now you're talking 3 out of 4. I mean, to me, it's uncharted waters. Now, I think we look at it, there's a bias against that because we say, well, Tampa Bay was able to do it a couple years ago. So, it's not really hard to do in the NHL. But for my money right now, I think this is a heck of a squad. I think they got the pieces in place. The odds favor them as well to get back to the Stanley Cup Finals. All right, just cranking up on a Wusa Wednesday, 16 past the 4 o'clock hour. The Eagles. All right, ball 316 chimes in. The Eagles. Man, I'll tell you. I mean, you got to the playoffs, right? You went to the Super Bowl. Pardon me. You got to the playoffs the next year and got bounced after starting 10-1. Then you got back to the Super Bowl and won it in convincing fashion against a generational talent, quarterback and head coach, and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. You get back there again and win it. I think it's subjective, but you can make a case for and against. Kevin C. chimes in from Jackson. Definitely if the Eagles get back there, the way the NFL is constructed with the players, with the releases, with the contracts, with the money, with guys wanting to get traded and cashing in, 17-week season plus the playoffs, Rich. If they get back there and win it again, I'm calling them a dynasty, and I'm not an Eagles fan. No, he's a Jets fan. I mean, Eagles fans been spoiled. 49ers had a dynasty. The 49ers, I mean, think about what the 49ers were able to accomplish early on in the 80s. Dallas Cowboys went to 4 straight NFC championships. 81 was their best shot. They couldn't get over the hump. They could not get over the hump. You had the great NFC championship game against 49ers. Montana to Clark, the ensuing kickoff. We know what happens, right? Eric Wright makes the shoestring game-saving tackle. That just so goes underrated. It could have changed the complexion and course of NFL history of both those franchises, but they never got over the hump to Dallas Cowboys. And then you look at the 49ers in 81, 85, 88, 89. The Giants knock them off in 90, and then a couple years later, they win again. That was a dynasty. Like, that's generational teams. The Dallas Cowboys in the 90s, those were dynasties. What was it, 3 and 5 years, back to back? I mean, I think anytime you're a franchise and you win back to back, you are held to a certain level. I think as a sports fan, if you go back to back, or even sports fan, talking head, member of the media, whatever, you have to appreciate and respect what it takes to get back to back, to go back to back in a respective sport. I mean, it is so hard. And I think the NFL is the hardest. You know why? Because when you get to a Super Bowl and lose it, no one remembers the loser. But then to get back to the Super Bowl and then win it again, that's special, man. That is absolutely special. I just, and I saw it with the Yankees when they were just dominating. The Giants win in 86, strike in 87. Jets beat them last game in the regular season in 88. The Altoon game, which to this day still gets under my skin. They don't make the playoffs. The Eagles do. Eagles lose to the Bears in the Fog Bowl. Giants get back to the playoffs in 89. They were better that year and lost to Flipper Anderson and the Rams. They got back to the playoffs in 90, and then they beat the Bills, and they had to go through the 49ers. So you're talking 86, 90. Then you're talking 2007, 2011. When teams win it 2, 3, 4 years within that time period, that's special. When you go back to back, to me, That is a dynasty. And I think right now, if you want to call it the cusp of a dynasty, that's fine. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Panthers remind me of 16, 17 Penguins. It's actually a good comparison. That's a really good comparison. Let me see. Except the 86 Giants have the flukiest wins in Super Bowl history. Well, again, so what are we looking at? 20 after. It is a Woosah Wednesday, and already man's gotten under my skin. I mean, first of all, I'm surprised. The Bunker Boys are somewhere in hiding because they haven't commented about the attire today. There was no court appearances today. That's number one. Number two, the Madman is a self-proclaimed 49ers fan. So what sticks in his craw is that the 86 Giants not only blasted through the Niners 49-3 and knocked Montana out, and then they blanked Washington, and then they continued on the corporation, beating the Denver Broncos, by the way, in the Super Bowl. So great team, 14-2. 2 losses that year, early on against Seattle and Dallas. 90, not a fluke. Go down to stick, hang around, give up the big play to Taylor, hang around, alligator blood, hang around, couple field goals, and then Craig fumbles. And by the way, one of the most, I guess you can say, clutch calls ever in playoff history was a fake punt. Gary Reason's up the gut. And if you recall, when Matt Barr knocked home his 5th field goal of the day at the gun, as the 49ers lost 15-13, the words of one Pat Summerall, there will be no three-peat. The Woosah Wednesday, again, is out the window because you started calling the Giant teams flukes. So again, it's like ridiculous. There's no, the Woosah Wednesday is put in place for me to be calm. The Woosah Wednesday is created so you guys don't get under my skin, and it takes 22 minutes on a Wednesday where the weather is 80-something degrees and there's a nice ocean breeze coming. The dog is kamate. The dog is relaxed, stretched out. I get her to sleep for 2 hours, and you're going to call the Giants frauds, and I can't have that. Leave it to De Facto to come in with the you-know-what breaking comment. Collar shirt again. Are you moonlighting as a wedding singer? Listen, when it's 90, then the teas will come out. But you have to understand. You have to understand this. You got to dress. You got to play the part. De Facto. You have to. I mean, this is a sharp dress. This is what we're doing here. So yeah, the polos will come out. It's supposed to be like 90-something this weekend. Corporate Broncos. Yeah. I mean, the Giants have just ripped through, apparently the corporation over the years. I can't do it, man. There's no Kamate. There's no Kamate because, again, those teams could have been on the cusp of dynasties, but it's not about those Giant squads. It's about the Florida Panthers. And by the way, on X, Florida Matt chimes in, a big-time Panthers fan. Q, I'm actually ecstatic. I might be the only Panthers fan that tunes into your show. But it was a hell of a series. I don't know if they're going to get back next year. I'm just going to enjoy it. Yeah, listen, you win a championship, that's great. I mean, as Man says, right? It is what it is. Nothing to be ashamed of. A win is a win. Exactly. A win is a win. That's all that matters in sports, is just winning. Losing stinks. Everyone knows that. It's secondary. We don't worry about losing. You just go out there and you win. All right, 24 past the 4 o'clock hour, cranking up on a Wednesday. By the way, Phillies, Mets, Yankees, all struggling. This fallout that the Phillies benched Castellanos is hilarious. I mean, people are making this guy out to be the next Ted Williams. Like, let's relax. Let's relax. I've got a couple thoughts on that. We'll get into a little NFL on this Wednesday and what is going on in the WNBA. Now, some of you guys who tune in know that we have a penchant to maybe have some plays on the WNBA. And by the way, did I not give you the Florida Panthers? Have we not ran roughshod with the NHL playoffs? I mean, I'm just letting you know, we dabbled a little bit, Mercury in the sky, some player props, Angel Reese, WNBA. But I don't know if you guys have been watching what's going on in the league. And it's become absolutely apparent that the WNBA has no idea what they're doing when it comes to handling the nonsense on the floor, on the court, all the BS, all the extracurricular activities. And if I was Caitlin Clark, I would tell you exactly what I would do. And I'm going to tell you that as well on the other side. A lot of comments coming in. Keep them rolling in. 25 past 4 o'clock hour. It's a Woosah Wednesday, which lasted about 13 or so minutes on this Wednesday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quiñones here. We're powered by our good friends over at TriX57. As always, don't forget to get social with us. We gave the question of the day: Panthers be considered a dynasty? A lot of comments on Facebook, on X, YouTube channel. We will get to you guys as always. And don't forget, at Rich Q on Q on X, IG, at TriX57 on Facebook, IG, and X. And of course, you can get me on TikTok, Rich Q on the mic. Quick timeout. We will come back on the other side. We'll reset the table and we'll talk a little WNBA, a little MLB, a lot of teams struggling, the Phils, the Mets, and the Yankees. Phillies with a minor move as well earlier today. Yankees lose again. They got blanked. They got shut out. Players only meeting, and the Mets lose in extras to the Braves. So we'll run through the gamut of MLB on the other side. Little diamond talk. All right, welcome back, everyone. 27 past the 4 o'clock hour on a Wednesday edition of Middays with Q, a Woosah Wednesday, and of course, powered by our wonderful friends over at TriX57. Don't forget, give them a follow on their Facebook page, streaming broadcast for Atlantic City, the Jersey Shore, featuring local news, weather, sports, and events. News tipped at TriX57.com. That's where Middays with Q will live going forward. Also, as I mentioned, Facebook and the website is pretty easy to log on to www.trix57.com. All right, a lot of comments pouring through. Let me see what you goofballs have to say on this Wednesday. Leave it to de facto leader, the Bunker Boys. Are we done with hockey talk till next June? No, absolutely not. We talked hockey during the season. We talked hockey during the season. We talked to Flyers. Did we not? We talked to Rangers. We talked about the Stanley Cup playoffs. We talked about the postseason. We talked about the Flyers pulling the trigger for Tocchet. Michael Reed chimes in. Corporate Broncos. The NFL talk in the 5 o'clock hour. So I wanted to switch gears for a minute, keep the comments coming in. A couple things on baseball. I don't know, again, if you guys follow, the locals, the Mets, the Phillies, the Yankees, and just baseball in general. But this uproar, this absolute uproar that Rob Thompson benches Castellanos is almost comical. Like, I'm hearing people sitting there saying, well, you're embarrassing the player. Listen, you have a player that's a fiery player like Castellanos, right? And he's also at times an enigma, this guy, because sometimes he's so streaky, he gets hot, he gets cold. So he has a couple comments coming off the field and he gets benched by Thompson. And everyone's curious, what were the comments? What were the comments? What difference does it make? Seriously, what difference does it make? He had to say something that ticked off the manager. So if it's an inappropriate comment, and you're being pulled mid-game, and again, allegedly you're making an inappropriate comment, the manager's job is to squash that. Did Charlie Manuel not bench Jimmy Rollins the year they won the World Series because he didn't run out a couple ground balls to first against the Mets in August? Yeah, he did. So like everyone's sitting there saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe this." Does it matter? Does it matter? Listen, you got Mouthy. I don't care that, guys are saying, "Whoa, he had a streak of 236 consecutive games." Oh my God, he's the Iron Man. He's Lou Garrett. He's Cal Ripken. One of the most overrated streaks, by the way, in sports history. Sorry, DMV Baltimore Orioles fans. But again, I'm sitting here saying to myself, like, is it that big of a deal? Think about it like this. How is the fan base divided? How is the fan base divided by this? You have a manager that's actually saying enough is enough. I'm not going to deal with this nonsense. Good. Good for Rob Thompson. And I don't believe at this moment he's managing for his job because the Mets have stunk and the Phillies find themselves just two back in the NL East. So again, whatever he said, hey man, that's it. I mean, you can't sit there and say the manager's lying or he has no right to bench to play. Managers manage, players play. That's his right if he wants to bench them. And again, if the player knows he did wrong, then you live with it. I mean, you guys are making it like, yes, exactly. That's why they are the sillies. That's what I call them. The sillies. That's exactly it. I mean, I can't believe all these hot takes over a guy getting benched who, again, at times is really not a good player. He's very inconsistent. And you're right. Most of those players or most of those people don't like Thompson, so it gives them an argument. That's exactly it. They don't like the manager. They don't. But it's not the manager's fault at times that you see these defensive gaffes or these issues in the outfield or guys like, Harper on the IL or Schwarber at times who's feast or famine with the home runs or Turner struggling a little bit or Luzardo going out once again and getting shelled. I mean, Jesus Luzardo, I might have kiboshed his NL Cy Young Award credentials, or I should say his potential to win the award. Because when he was undefeated, I came on the air, I think it was a Monday or Tuesday, and I almost basically was saying, lock it up at plus 1,800. This kid's going to win the Cy Young. And what happens? He turns around, he stinks up the joint his next two outings. He comes back with a win, and then he stinks up the joint last night against the Miami Marlins. The team's just so inconsistent. So it's an easy out to get on the manager. It's an easy out all the time to sit there and say, it's the manager, it's the manager, it's the manager. But more times than not, you got to really look at the player and you got to look at what you're dealing with. Yes, managers make mistakes. You guys know how I feel about Boone. He drives me absolutely batty. He drives me batty. And again, the Yankees have their own issues, right? The Yankees have their own issues. I mean, you're getting shut out every night, it seems right now, which is just unbelievable. And Castellanos will be back in the lineup, but I do believe it's something worth watching. I really do, because again, I can't sit here and it's hard for me to rationalize sometimes when guys come at me or they argue with me, which I have no problem with that. But I'm seeing guys right now on X, you guys are commenting, you're listening, and I appreciate it greatly. You're trying to compare this to what I said with Charlie Manuel and Jimmy Rollins. Now, Jimmy Rollins, you can argue, could be, a Hall of Fame player, right? Charlie Manuel benched him for not hustling the first on a pop-up. And you know what everyone said? And I remember at the time, I said on the air, good for Charlie Manuel. Good for Charlie Manuel to not take any crap from Jimmy Rollins. Player be damned. Good for Charlie Manuel. Oh, we're talking about Q. They're going to run Charlie Manuel out of town. Oh, all they did is go on and win the World Series. So I guess, everything kind of worked out. Don't compare the two. Seriously, don't compare the two. It's apples and oranges. It's not even remotely close. It's a horrible comparison if you're basically saying Castellanos and Thompson are on par to Charlie Manuel and Rollins, who had to, you had the architect and you had one of the core players who had one of the great runs in Philadelphia Phillies franchise history, where they were winning NL East titles and going to the playoffs and winning World Series, getting back to the World Series, and then eventually losing to the Yankees. Like, let's not get it twisted on that, right? Then you got the Mets, who again can't beat the Braves, 5-4 in extras. The Mets are struggling a little bit, and I believe now they're starting to be a little panic time with my Yankees. You can't get blanked again against the Angels. You can't. And what happens when a team has some bad losses? They have a quote, a players only meeting, right? A players only meeting to see if maybe they can kind of, light a spark. It doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. I mean, the Yankees got some issues. Now, I think they rebound tonight. They got the pitcher to do it. I don't see their offense being shut down again. I really don't. I mean, I would be hard pressed to believe that their offense is going to be shut down like that. Let me get some of these goofball comments. My God, the Philly fans, with respect, some of you guys are delusional, man. Some of you guys are delusional. Like, I feel as though you look at this team and the way they're presently constructed, and you guys think, hey, it's okay. And they're not. And you got to start to look at, by the way, the general manager. Let's not forget about the general manager. Like, I feel as though we give him a pass, and you can't always do that, right? You can't always do that. Q, I have no idea what Castellanos made, but again, he's making 20 million as an employee. Doesn't make the decision. If he's a man, he realizes he's wrong. Apologies, take the punishment. Doesn't let it happen again. Move on. Yeah, I mean, PB chimes in. Q, I'm going to back the skipper on this one, and you can. I'm not telling you who to back. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to just convey is that a lot of times moves like this can do two things. Let's not make this guy out to be a Hall of Famer, right? At this moment, a move like this can provide a little juice, some energy to a team, provide a spark, right? A spark. I think he's a little overrated as well, man, to be quite honest with you. I also think he's very hit or miss. But I believe it can provide a spark, or, things go south. So if the Phils don't win the World Series, does this issue get revisited? I don't think so. Because we're in June 18th. If this was, mid-September, right? Mid-September, and we're talking the Phillies and the Mets, 2 games separate them, and Castellanos gets ticked off and he's pulled mid-game, or maybe he's pushed down. Well, you're not going to push him down the lineup, but you guys know what I'm saying. Something happens, and Thompson comes out, or Castellanos says something that aggravates or irritates Rob Thompson, and they bench him. If they lose that series, they get swept. They lose 3 out of 4 to the Mets, and he was benched in a critical game, and they could have used his bat, they could use his glove, whatever the situation is, insert whatever you guys want to. Then I believe that's an issue. I don't believe it's an issue in June. I don't. I really don't. I think sometimes you need to nip these things in the bud, and I also believe sometimes you start to see cracks, you start to see certain things happening, and what you want to do is you want to basically remedy that. You don't want to duct tape a bullet shot. You don't, right? You can't remedy that. You can't. A scratch I can band-aid. You get shot with a gun, right? And the bullet's in there. I'm not going to duct tape it. That does nothing. That's not going to stop the bleeding, right? And in this situation, it's just nip it in the bud. We've seen managers bench players before. We've seen managers drop players down in the lineup. We've seen managers, we've seen Hall of Fame quarterbacks get benched. We've seen Hall of Fame quarterbacks get benched. And teams sometimes, you need a wake-up call. You need a wake-up call. How many times in the NFL do you see a team absolutely get hammered Quarterback gets benched. He gets pulled during the game. Now, I don't know if this happened in the game, but I do recall this because it turns seasons around. And the madman will appreciate this on a Woosah Wednesday. The 49ers, I think when they won in 95, didn't the Philadelphia Eagles destroy them like 40-8 and Young got benched? And everyone said it's the end of the 49ers, the dynasty, the run, Young, here we go. They went on and they killed San Diego in the Super Bowl. Like it galvanized that team. So again, let's not make too much into it, like some of you guys, not you guys commenting, but some of the guys on X, you guys are commenting. You're just you're reading way too much into it. You really are. I want to get into a little WNBA on the other side because I've got some thoughts. Right now, this league, I feel is a joke. I feel this league is a joke, and I also feel that they are basically doing Caitlin Clark dirty. They are really doing her dirty, and I've got some thoughts on that. Keep it locked in 440. We got Tony to play with hour number one. We'll take you up to 6 on this Wednesday edition of Middays with Q. As always, we're powered by our wonderful friends over at TriX57. All you have to do is follow along at TriX57 on Facebook, IG, and X. Log on to TriX57.com. You can follow myself, IG, and X. Rich Q on Q, and on TikTok, Rich Q. On my quickie timeout. We'll come back on the other side. We'll reset the table and talk a little hoops, WNBA style. All right, 442. We'll take up to 6. Wednesday edition Middays with Q. Tom and Summers Point chiming in. Court appearance day 2 continues. The jury is still out on you, Q. Hey, listen. Well played, well played. Hey, but I will say this, Tom. I will say this, Tom on X, with the guys chiming in on the YouTube channel and Facebook. I would say 95%, 95% of those that are tuning in at this moment, they understand the expression read the room. Now, there's 5%, maybe 2% that fail to read the room at times. That's all. And as I alluded to in the beginning of the show, you got to dress the part. You guys know this. When it's 90, the polos will come out. The polos will come out. Now, I'm not going to do, the whole Tour de France kind of outfit. We're not going to do that. And that's, credit to Ball 316 getting all giddy over the Tour de France. Oh, speaking of which, not the Tour de France, but I saw last night when I was flipping through with the Stanley Cup Finals, the Ohio State, they had the debut of the scandal, and I have to go back. I'm going to watch it, and I'll give you guys a report on it on a Friday show. By the way, Lloyd Mance tomorrow, Thursday. John Bueller from Fansided on Friday. So we'll kind of go around baseball, and we'll start to look ahead a little more into college football and the NFL. All right, as far as the WNBA, it's getting to the point where the league is a joke. I mean, seriously, the league is a joke. Now, I watch the league. I'm a hoops guy. It doesn't matter. I watch the league. But what I'm seeing and what I saw last night was a disgrace. It was a disgrace. I mean, it's almost as though it's borderline like BS type of behavior. And the fact that they're not going to suspend any players in the nonsense between the Sun and the Fever. If you guys saw the highlights, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous how the league and the opposition and some of these players treat Caitlin Clark. It just, I I don't get it. You see last night, Mabry with the technical foul. She basically she didn't even bump into this kid. She knocked her on her fanny early on in the game. So they upgraded to a flagrant two. If you watch some of this stuff, it's really BS. It is. It really is BS. And by the way, I'm really happy that finally you had a player to stick up for Caitlin Clark. If you saw last night, right, you saw Cunningham basically handed that flagrant foul to, disqualified the hard foul on Sheldon last night. But that was basically to support her teammates. You have to do that. No one is advocating, to smack people or pull the hair or punch them or the violence, but you have to go to battle sometimes for your teammates. But what this league is doing right now, how they're icing out Caitlin Clark, is an absolute joke. It's a disgrace. She is your breadwinner, period. She's your breadwinner. I don't want to hear any more of this nonsense. Well, there are other players before here. I don't care anymore about that. I don't. I don't. That argument is so tired. It's so tired. Yes, we understand all the players before Caitlin Clark. We get it. We know exactly what they did to the league. We know exactly what they mean to the league and paving the way and trailblazers and blah, 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 blah. None of them have the effect that this kid does on the league. From a playing standpoint, an attendance standpoint, a rating standpoint, a money standpoint, a markability standpoint, or a branding standpoint. They don't hold a candle to Caitlin Clark. They don't. They really don't. And what they're doing to her is utterly ridiculous, man. It really is. If I was Caitlin Clark, I would turn around and I would say, the heck with the WNBA. I'm going to go play overseas. I'm going to go play overseas. That's exactly what I'm going to do. She's got a lot of haters, needs a book up like Jordan did in the 90s. She has haters, but there's a difference between being BS and not BS. Jovan is a WNBA cat. I knew Jovan was tuning in. I respectfully disagree. I think the whole thing was just hard physical basketball. We wouldn't trip if it was the NBA. But here's it, and Jovan, you're my guy. You know I love you. You know I love you. We are acting like this was Spark Shock back in 08. That was a skirmish, my friend. But this is where I'm going to give you a little pushback. The NBA is the NBA, right? So we're talking NBA in the 90s. That's how the game was. And we know the game is much more wide open. But I think we're going down that rabbit hole where we're comparing apples and oranges, right? No one's sitting saying that because they're girls, they're females, it's got to be, less sass and more, female-ish, feminist, where they're soft and they're playing. No, we want them to play hard-nosed basketball. But there's also a point between physical and bush league. And what I've seen with this kid in this league is bush league. It's bush league, period. It's bush league. You're smacking her in the face. You're body checking her. You're dropping her fanny. And then people want to know why she's going to get up and then retaliate back. It's not about me being soft. And there we go. See, this is what I'm saying on a Woosah Wednesday. Open it up, Vince. You know exactly how to light it up. You sound soft, Q. Top players got to deal with people coming after them. Stop crying together. Toughen up and just win. Nobody wants to hear you have to win. Just win, baby. Oh, how you win. Okay. No. They're doing a disservice, the league is. Because a lot of people don't. Let me ask you guys this question right now. Is it hard for you guys, some of you guys that are listening and tuning in right now, to admit that she is the face of the league? Because every time I throw that out there, nobody wants to hear it. No, I get other players thrown back at me. No. Admit to me right now that she is the face of the league. Because if you can't admit that, then there's an agenda, there's a bias that you guys have against Caitlin Clark. And I'm not saying those that are commenting or listening in. I'm just saying you as in a whole. I'm throwing it out there. I'm throwing it out there because it's a joke. It really is. The league needs to handle things better. They do. They need to handle things better. They're trying to push this league and make it in a certain way, right? And the fact that you've got a player that is, the jealousy is ridiculous. Protect your players, especially the one that's generating 90% of your viewership and your income. And they don't want to do that. That's a problem. They don't want to do that. You can't, I've seen Joe D chime in. I'm seeing Tom again from Summers Point. I'm seeing Kevin and Jackson. Don't give me the crap about the NBA. Don't. I don't want to hear that. I just don't. It's just, you have to protect the play. You got to protect the cash cow. You have to. Where you're going to come at me with the Jordan rules? Apples and oranges, Vince. Apples and oranges. Stop. My goodness. The whole league is jealous of her. She's definitely the face of the league. Yes. Q would say it's soft to abandon your team to pay parking meters in Florida, Vince. I think. Can we pull that back up for a second? Let me see. My question is who? I think the league as a whole. I think some of these players are jealous of her. I do. I think they see her. They know she's getting the deals. They know she's marketable. They know she's the best player in the league. Jovan, how can there not be jealousy? That's my question. I can't pinpoint player A, B, C, but all you have to do, how many times did Reese come out and say, I'm the face of the league? That rivalry, right? And, you got guys betting on her to miss her first shot. The league wants the attention because we're talking about it. Yeah. 100%. 100%. Who's arguing she's not? Strawman Q, come on. She and the media need to toughen up. Jordan almost died a couple times playing Boston and Detroit. What are you talking about? Really? Seriously? Vince. I mean, come on, man. Come on. Stop. You sound foolish with that take. Yeah, right. Yeah. Jordan had they pulled a DeMar Hamlin. Jordan. Yeah. Monday Night Football. Yep. Yeah. Jordan against the Pistons in Game 6 or the Boston Celtics. Come on. Stop. Some guys just don't like Caitlin Clark. Some people just don't like Caitlin Clark. They don't understand. Sometimes you don't kick a gift horse in the mouth. If the league is so adamant on trying to be competitive and the branding and the reputation, how the hell do you let this kind of stuff go? Seriously. That's all I'm saying. Like, how do you allow this to continue? It's a bad look. The optics are bad. You want to call me soft? Call me soft. I would say the same thing. It was the NBA, but I'm not going to compare male players to female players. Mabry, I mean, it was kind of a punkish kind of thing. And I don't want to call a girl punk, but you don't do that kind of stuff. Shoving someone from behind on a dead ball. You want to be tough. Can't keep your wits about yourself. That's not how you conduct yourself. That's not how you handle yourself. It's Bush League. That's all. It's Bush League. Male shouldn't be jealous. I mean, I think there are people that are just jealous, period. Whether we want to put them in the category of male or female, man, that's fine. That's fine. You have a player, okay, listen to me. You have a player that, again, is drawing a lot of attention in the league. And we have a hard time when there's an isolated person. Like, all right, let me ask you a question. If we look in the NFL and say Patrick Mahomes is the face of the league, or we look at hockey right now and say Connor McDavid's the face of the league, if we look at NBA and say SGA is the face of the league, I don't see these guys getting knocked on their high knees. I don't. I think you respect it. And I think in the WNBA, the players don't respect each other. That is just my thought. That is my opinion. I've watched enough of these games. There's a difference between being testy, playing on the blacktop, street ball, no blood, no foul, no harm, no foul, then Bush League tactics, then like nonsense, then cheap shots. And they're doing everything they can. This isn't Jordan. This is not them icing out Kobe in the All-Star game. This is not giving it to Jordan in his rookie year. Kobe, found these guys hard. This is not the 1990s Knicks and Heat and Knicks and Bulls and Pistons and Bulls and Indiana and the Knicks and the Pacers and the Bulls. It's the WNBA. And I'm not saying play the game soft. I'm all for playing the game hard. I want a little feistiness. I want a little juice in these games. I like it. I want rivalries. Trash talking, I'm good for. Fine. But some of these plays, some of these calls, some of these fouls, they're avoidable. They are avoidable. And what you're doing is you're taking extracurricular little BS shots at this player. At this player. Listen, and I know she's a player. There's a difference again. Play with an edge, don't back down, but don't be Bush League. Don't be a cheap shot artist. I don't care who the players. I'd say the same exact thing. It doesn't matter who they are, right? All right, I can admit Clark is the face, but I mean AJ Wilson driving revenue, for example, has a top-selling sneaker. But all of that, though, when Caitlin Clark came in the league, let's just admit it, people watched. You can't dispute it. They're undeniable facts. The numbers speak for themselves. Yes, people are going to get their shoe deals and their NIL, and they're going to push their merchandise, and they're going to be, on the cover of magazines and pushing product and merchandise and makeup and all this stuff and modeling and have fun at it, make millions of dollars. Go for it. No one's saying don't do that. But when you have a player that you're trying to build a league around, because people don't want it's, and I understand why players get like this, male and or female, because a player turns around and says, well, wait a second. I've been here longer. I've been working just as hard. What is that person? What is he doing? What is she doing that I'm not doing? Like now all of a sudden, the spotlight gravitates towards them. And sometimes we want the spotlight on us. We don't want the spotlight to be taken off of us. We don't. It's the human in us, right? It's the flaw in us at times. It's the ego. So she comes into the league and she's lighting the world on fire. She's doing the, from the logo, she's doing all the commercials, she's putting up the stats. Everyone's watching the games. Families are coming out, kids with the jerseys, kids want to be Caitlin Clark. And I know they want to be other players. But what I'm saying is you've got a great player who is being mistreated. And again, if you want to sit there and compare it to what they were doing to Jordan, whatever. All I'm saying is why. There's more than just jealousy with this. It's almost like this rite of passage, sink or swim. I'm going to knock you on your you-know-what. And if I'm Caitlin Clark, after a while, honestly, I'm either going to start turning around and swinging or I'm going to take my game somewhere else. It's not about being soft. Like enough is enough. You got to say to yourself, the risk to reward. Do I really need this crap? And no one's going to sit there, and I'll be the first to tell you. If she turns around in a year or two and says, I'm going to go play overseas, to hell with the WME, I'm not going to rip her. I'm not going to sit there and say she can't handle it. It's like after a while, you say enough is enough, man. But some of the comparisons you guys are trying to make, I believe they're apples and oranges. That's all. That's all. That's all I'm saying. How do you think the NFL players up until the 80s felt when the league exploded money-wise afterwards? It happens. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And it's good. There's nothing wrong with, look, we want rivalries, right? So if you talk about Bird and Magic, right, that was a rivalry. They played in college, they came up, and then here we go, right? And I'll get to your comment in a second, Jovan. And yes, I know about that overseas. I got a good handle on that as well, but I'll get to your comment. So you got Bird and Magic and national championship game, right? Michigan State, they blow out Indiana State, they shut down Bird, then they're drafted, they changed the face, they saved the league, they saved the NBA. By the way, 5 o'clock straight up on Tracks 57, tracks57.com. Rich Quiñones here, Middays with Q. A lot of comments coming in. I'm going to get to them. So they saved the NBA. You got that rivalry, right? That was, but they were, you had Boston, bring your lunch pail to work. And then you had the bright lights of Showtime and the Lakers, right? Everything tastes better, looks better. Women are beautiful. Guys are handsome. You got the walk, you got the strip, you got everything. You got Jack courtside, you got the Lakers, you got the Laker girls, Showtime. Here we go. They were both likable players, but yet, they kind of gave Bird a little, his comeuppance coming into the league. And, we know everything. Like they looked at Bird and said, well, this white guy can't play. He can't jump. He can't shoot. He can't dunk. He can't D up. Well, they found up, they found out pretty early that Bird can play a little. Like it was a good rivalry. There's mutual respect. If it's hard for me to sit there and say Reese and Clark are a rivalry because level wise, talent wise, it's so lopsided. And this is no disrespect to Angel Reese. And I know we talked about the player props and this and that. She's not as good as Caitlin Clark. She's just not. She's just not. You can't tell me otherwise. I know the game. She's not as good. She does some good things, but she's not like Caitlin Clark. That's night and day. But as some of you guys have pointed out, you need the villain, right? You need the villain. You got to, if that's what you want to be, play the role. Play the role fairly, though. If that's who you want to be, play the role. But just know you can't then sit there and cry wolf. You can't. If you're going to play that role and play the villain, if your game's not up to snuff, if it's not up to par, it's going to be a lopsided competition. It's going to be a lopsided rivalry. It really is. And ultimately, I think what the NBA is doing right now, they're losing sight. They're not staying the course. They're losing sight of the goal. They really are. Because they know at this moment, NBA Finals is a wash. OKC's going to close it out. You got baseball in the summer. We want the eyeballs. We want to show we got a product. We want to show we have a product. But like I said, nobody wants to hear. I feel as though every time someone says, and they say it a lot on TV or the radio or on pods, Caitlin Clark is the only reason anyone even knows the WNBA exists. People get up in arms. Now, hold on a second, because I already know there are some that follow the game prior to, and again, know the game, right? Jovan watches the WNBA. He's very good with the player props, all that stuff. We know women's basketball overseas is more physical, but think about it. You can be treated like a queen and a king overseas too, right? Sounds like a lot of disrespect to Reese. I don't think so. She had a triple-double the other day. There's no slight. There's no disrespect on anyone, right? All I'm saying is you can't compare the two at this moment. You can't. I would say Reese is getting better in year two, way more well-rounded, but I never mentioned Reese as my example. Listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion, guys. There's no right or wrong. Where I'm just going to argue and scream at the mountaintop is you can't tell me that two things. Clark is the better player and she's the league right now. But it's not that comparison. The reason I brought it up before, we're talking about these rivalries and what the league wants, what the league is trying to ensue, and what the league is trying to accomplish. And right now, when you have this kind of nonsense going on, and you got the refs are blinded to this kind of nonsense, and you got these fights, and you got just the back and forth, it just gives it gives a bad look. I mean, you got a player getting poked in the eye, right? And then your body checked. I mean, to me, that's BS. If that's Draymond Green, we're going nuts. If that's Rodman back in the day, we're going nuts. Suspend them. Kick them out of the league. It's like, just play the game, man. Just play the game. I mean, it's almost as though you play YMCA ball. You play at the AC PAL. You play at the PAL. You go play at the community center on a Saturday, and you see those guys make the, again, turn around, the YMCA move. They cross a dude over, they laugh, but they can't finish the layup, and then fight ensues. It's like BS ball. It is. It's like BS ball. That's all I'm saying. Like, you shove a player, you punch a player, you smack a player, you poke a player, especially after a dead ball foul, after the whistle. That is uncalled for. You want to call me soft, call me soft. But if it happens to your player, it happens to your teammate, if the quarterback gets friggin' touched, you guys are crying on a Monday on the air with me, saying, how come the flag wasn't thrown? You just can't have it both ways. The league right now has no idea what the hell they're doing. They don't. They really don't. I mean, it's like every time something doesn't go right for a player or something happens, what happens? We come up with these accusations, allegations. Another, black eye for the league. Let's investigate. Nothing comes about it. All right, player gets planted on her hiney. All the calls are going this way. They're not going that way. It's. I'm telling you, man. You've got players in the league, no doubt, but you've got the brightest star in the league, and you're kind of crapping on her. It's just how I feel. It's just how I feel. Let me get to some of these comments, and then we'll take a quick time out. First Lady in Delaware chiming in. Q, you're actually accurate with this one, and I agree with some of your points. It was actually well thought out. I definitely think she's a cash cow. She's the face of the league. I'm all for the hard play, but sometimes it's borderline dirty. People are going to watch, right? I mean, hell, I had the Sky 17.5 the other day. This close. And they didn't cover. Problem is, Bird and Magic were winning early. Clark and Reese teams aren't that good, so Rivero seems weak to me. Right. It is because they met in college, right? And we want something to gravitate to, right? That's conjured up by the media. It is, Final Four, championship, whatever. Here we go. And yes, Scott, it is big time. Apples and oranges. It really is. All right, a lot of comments coming in. We'll continue conversation on the other side. Little NFL. Want to go around the league. Couple news and notes as well. Keep it locked in. It's a Wednesday edition of Middays with Q. So much for the Wusaw Wednesday. That was broken about 22 minutes after. Credit Madman for getting under the skin at 4:22 Eastern time on this Wednesday. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up. Keep it locked in. Quick time out. We'll come back on the other side. All right, 7 past 5 o'clock hour. We'll take you up to 6. Let me see here. These are guys on Facebook and on X. I'll get back to your comments in a second. I want to scroll through these, see what you guys have to say, and try to get your, your retorts on some of these, your thoughts on some of these as well. Paulie chimes in. Q, agree with you. The NBA is an absolute violent mess. When are they going to start kicking players out of the league? I don't know if they're going to go that far. I don't. Iowa Man turns around and says on X, Q, loving the WNBA talk, loving the show, by the way, good passion and insight. How about this with the WNBA? How about they get rid of some of these refs? Well, I mean, we can always talk about that, right? Just times in, Rich, WNBA turning into catfights on the court. Mostly the most profitable thing the league has ever done. Laugh out loud. I want to go that far. I mean, listen, the fact that Cunningham turned around on that hard foul. Hey, man, you want to send a message? We're going to send a message right back, right? Going to send a message right back. So it's everything. When we watch these games, when we watch sports, we want to gravitate towards the rivalry. We want to gravitate towards the players with the edge or the chip on their shoulder. And I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. Give me the edge, give me the hits, give me the passion, give me the, give me the, physicality. But I also think if you're trying to push and market a sport and a league a certain way, you cannot have this. You can't. Funny part is this fracas. Is it fracas or fracas? Because that's I might have to AI translation check on that. I thought it was pronounced fracas, but some people call it fracas. We'll go on the radar as the Fever and Sun folks on their next game. A lot of other storylines to pay attention to as well. That's Jovan's way of telling me to let it go. I can't do it, Jovan. I can't do it. I can't do it. No, it's always listen. Anytime you're talking about these teams and you're talking about what transpired, it's always going to be it's going to be let off. It's going to be highlight stuff. You guys know this, and I know it. Marty chimes in and says it's pronounced fracas. Is it fracas or fracas? I believe it's fracas, like that word that I couldn't pronounce with Aaron Rodgers. What was it? Ukulele, whatever the word was. Hayanaska, whatever that was. I don't know. I'll get to it in a minute. Uh, Dave chimes in. Oh, how about this? Dave from Delaware chiming in. Q, you know me, big time hockey fan. You really think McDavid's going to re-sign with the Oilers? I think the Oilers, if they are wise, they get a deal done with Connor McDavid. That is the face of the franchise. And as some of you guys have pointed out, you don't want to lose that face of the franchise. We saw what happened, many, many moons ago. Gretzky, Edmonton goes to the Kings, bounce around a little bit. You have to keep guys in house, right? It's hard to do, but you have to keep guys in house. And sometimes people don't want to do that. They don't want to pay too. And that's the problem. They just don't want to pay. Jay chimes in. Q, going back to your hockey talk. Man, look at hockey heads coming out of the woodwork today. See, the hockey guys read in the room. We led off with the Stanley Cup Finals. That's reading the room and understanding exactly where we are at. Jay chimes in. Q, definitely Panthers are a dynasty. If they go back to back to back, that is a rare in the rarest of forms. It is. Jovan says, nah, I'm not telling you to let it go. This is Prime Middays with Q. Taking general relations for all outlets to use the energy to talk about the other storylines in the league. Yes, I understand what you're playing. Like, for instance, Jovan, the fact that I was back in my play and I actually had the Sky winning outright the other night. So, give me credit where credit is due. That's all I'm saying. Now, am I going to sit there and am I going to go with the Phoenix 14.5 tonight? I'm not sure. I'm going to do it. The Suns stink. We know that. They've dropped 3 straight, 4 or 5. See, Jovan, you don't have to school me. I'm all over the WNBA. I'm so upset that my guys from U Stadium can't do that Angel Reese player prop anymore. The missed shots. Cease and assist. That's horrible. Absolutely horrible. That's how you make some money with those games in the league, right? It's all about the player props. It's all about the player props. You can do that NBA player props. We called it the other day too, and I got to give Scott credit. Scott, the Browns fan, I think he was very close to hitting that SGA number that we were talking. I think it was 39, if memory serves me correct. I think it was 39. We didn't add, I don't know if we added the rebounds in that, but would we say 35 to 39 points with SGA? So got to give credit to the listeners as well. Thunder are laying 6.5 tomorrow night. That series is over. That series is over. And I got torched yesterday. I got absolutely torched yesterday, or it might have been Monday, talking about Halliburton. Like I had Indiana fans chiming in, telling me that he's a star. Now, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow night, whether he's going to go or not with the calf strain. If he can walk, he's got to be out there. If he can walk, he has to be out there because your season ends. Your season ends. Get out there, period. Always found value. Always value to be found with the WNBA player props. I respect you adding the W in your Qfecta. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm doing. The Qfecta is coming out at 5:45, powered by our good friends over at Trix 57. Yeah, I got some. I mean, some of these comments from the Pacers fans. Oh my God. Indiana 6 chiming in the other day. Q, last week you were saying that Halliburton was a future Hall of Famer. When did I say Halliburton was a future Hall of Famer? I mean, de facto, check the tape. Did we mark the tape? Nowhere did I ever say Tyrese Halliburton was a future Hall of Famer. I asked the question, is he a star, a franchise player? We know how clutch he was in these playoffs, but he's also come up really small in these NBA finals. I mean, you guys got selective hearing. Future Hall of Famer? Absolutely. I mean, I would put Siakam in the Hall of Fame before I would put Halliburton in the Hall of Fame. You kidding me? Ah, stop. It's nonsense. Yeah, I'm going to stick a guy that averages 16.5 in his career in the Hall of Fame like that. I mean, you guys, you take some of the stuff that I say and just absolutely just run with it. NFL, couple interesting little news and notes and some nuggets. It does appear that Jair Alexander is joining Baltimore. So that's a nice little move, right? You get a proven cornerback. As long as he's healthy, you solidify that secondary. I like the move. I really do. And so there's a report. Now I want to get your thoughts on this, guys and girls. And no, Kevin and Jackson. I'm not going to talk about Neighbors and his nagging toe with the Giants. I'm sorry. I can't today. I can't today on a Wednesday. So, do you remember the player for the Raiders, Henry Ruggs? He's on special release from prison, and he spoke at an event in Vegas, and he apologized to the family of the woman he killed in a car crash. I can't believe it's already 4 years. I can't believe it's already 4 years. Remember, he was drafted by the Raiders. So there's this, I guess I don't want to call it controversy surrounding it, but there's this feeling, well, you know, when this kid's free, right? When this kid is free, um, should he be able to play back in the NFL? Should he get a second chance in the NFL? And I was thinking about this when I was doing a little prep work because how many guys in the NFL have gotten second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances? Is that not the league? Is that not the league? I mean, look, you guys know I'm a dog lover. Look what Vic did. Look what Michael Vick did. And I remember at the time when that story broke, oh my God, for weeks, calls left and right for 3 straight hours on the air. In Delaware, 12.90 the ticket. You had PETA people, you had dog lovers, you had football fans. And all I said at the time, when the Eagles signed Michael Vick, or where there was a report that they were getting ready to sign Michael Vick, I came out on the air and I said, everyone is going to throw a tantrum out of this. Now, would I do this if I'm the Eagles and Andy Reid? No. I wouldn't. Would I do this if I'm Jeffrey Lurie and the Philly and the Eagles brass? No, I wouldn't. Whether a player or a person paid their debt to society, it was just, to me, I couldn't get over it. And then I said, because it ruffled feathers, I said, but ultimately, sports fans are very funny because when it's all said and done, you know what they cheer? They cheer the back of the jersey. They cheer the jersey. They don't cheer the player. All I heard after that was how many people were going to give back their tickets, boycott the NFL, boycott the Eagles. The first time Michael Vick threw a touchdown pass, everyone was cheering. So I say all this to say the fact that this kid is eligible for parole, I think it's next August, 2026. And he, wants another shot at the NFL. And my thing is, these leagues, how many guys have gotten second, third, fourth, fifth chances to redeem themselves, to correct their mistakes? Now, unfortunately, you can't bring back this young lady. You just can't. And the fact that this kid is making amends, it's. I think, Mike Florio, who I'm not the biggest fan of. Back in the day, I used to say, just copy and paste because that's how he kind of created the website. But whatever. He's made his career. He's made his niche. He does his thing. Okay. He was saying that the fact that Ruggs is trying to make amends, the best way to not pursue a return to the NFL, because that would, quote, since that would only put his face in the news and or the newspaper again, forcing this young lady's family to relive their nightmare. I understand that sentiment, but that's also not fair to say if you're Mike Florio. It's not fair to say because people make mistakes. People make mistakes all the time. And I know sometimes you say, hey, the first time you do it, coincidence or shame on me, shame on you. And then the third time, third strike, I'm not going to fall for it anymore. But this kid's still relatively young and he's got to live the rest of his life with the guilt knowing that he took someone's life. Isn't that punishment enough? Right? Isn't that punishment enough? And I've seen, again, other players have done worse. Other players, hit and runs, DUIs, sexual assault. We've seen it. They've done worse. Well, not worse than, can't worse, but you know what I'm saying. They on the level, right? Dante Stallworth killed a man hit and run under the influence, played like 3 more years, right? So for some of the media people to come out and now sit there and say this kid doesn't deserve a second shot, that's not fair. That's not fair. Imagine. I can't imagine if I ran over a squirrel, I would probably be heartbroken. I would be devastated. Imagine killing somebody and having to live with that guilt because of your actions. And now you have to be held accountable and to wake up and go to bed every night knowing that you took someone's life. And some people don't get over it because you see some of these clowns who still get pinched with DUIs that are still the very next day out there driving again with suspended licenses. How many stories do we read in the newspaper where someone has a suspended license and the judge throws it out? There's no conviction. Here we go. They get in a car and then they kill somebody. And then you're like, well, where was their license? Why were they not in jail? What did the judge do? Wasn't it suspended, right? So we can go and just all day long with that and the law and how we look upon that, right? All I'm saying is for some media guys, for people to sit there and say, now this kid should not deserve a shot to pursue the NFL or his dream, I think it's pretty harsh. And I get it. He killed someone. His actions resulted in someone's death. But as I said before, have we not seen, and I'm waiting for someone to point it out to me. And you guys have yet to point it out. But have we not, you don't have to really look past the area that we're in. Have we not seen this before? Right? Have we not seen this before? Did the Philadelphia Eagles not draft a player that was involved in a serious car crash that resulted in the deaths of 2 University of Georgia staff members and a football player, right? Or 2 people, I should say, staff member and a football player. And now, where's Florio saying the Eagles shouldn't draft Jalen Carter? It's just, we pick and choose. We pick and choose our spots. And that annoys me. Absolutely. It just annoys me to no end. It really does. All right, let me pull up a couple comments. Yeah, I'm going to get to that. I see the breaking news with the Lakers, which is very, very out of nowhere. Sarge chimes in again. Q, every person deserves a second chance. I wouldn't go as far as third, but second. Tommy D chiming in from South Philly. Q, I would say no. The kid took a life. He lost the privilege to play in the NFL, but good topic. The Bus family agrees to sell the Lakers to Mark Walter at a $10 billion valuation. Wow. That is the largest sale of a professional sports franchise in the world. Now, I didn't read. I'm going to assume that Jenny Buss will stay on, correct? Oh no, man, you know what? That's breaking news. You read the room there. I was finishing the comment and you read the room perfectly. You waited for me to pause to get to the comments, 20 after to change segments, and no, you're fine. No, you're fine. You read the room there. You read the room. It's when I'm talking NHL and somebody wants to bring in Le Mans. That's not, when I'm talking NBA or I'm talking life and death, and then we do a pause, we reset the table, and that's exactly what we did. And you just brought it to my attention. That's reading the room. That's fine. You understood that. I'm talking about rugs, and all of a sudden you want to talk to me about, 1984 49ers. That's not reading the room. I'm talking rugs, and all of a sudden you want to talk about the reboot of the Naked Gun. Now, I'll go along for a minute, but that's not reading the room. No, you read the room perfectly, my friend. And that's the difference between the corporation and the bunker boys. Because the corp knows how to read the room. The B-boys don't. The B-boys don't. That's the type of action held in the bunker. Corporation is well adapted being in a conference room. That's what you need. That's what you need. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like guys like you would be great for the WNBA. The corporation and WNBA would be perfect because it's no nonsense. It's no nonsense. You guys are going to run the gamut. You're laying down the law. Sports, unions, they need the corporation. Bunker Boys, the Philadelphia Eagles fan base, I like to chime in and troll. I'm not too sold on these guys. Like I said, there is the equivalent of the cats, the dudes that will run into the fire. They see the flames, flames be damned. They're running into the fire. Then you got the other dudes that are running out. We don't need those kind of people in our life, do we? Oh my goodness, JD chimes in. Wow, Q, are you kidding me? Buss is going to stay on as Lakers governor, correct? I got to pull up the story. It appears so. Wow. They've owned the Lakers since 1979. You know who they bought the Lakers from? Jack Kent Cook. $67 million. That also included, talk about great business sense. So the Buss family bought the Lakers in 79 from Jack Kent Cook. 67.5 million transaction that also included the Kings and the Los Angeles Kings and the LA Forum. Oh my God. Wow. Unbelievable. Meme needs no more casket. No, he doesn't. He doesn't. We don't need to amp him up. We don't. The corporation hands don't feel like they've been in construction because they're union delegates. Oh, really? I didn't know that. I thought I thought you guys were the guys like in the trenches. So I misunderstood. I'm sorry. You guys are the ones that hire the guys that are in the trenches, correct? So technically, if you really think about it, the chain of command, if we're going, you have the owner, you have the GM, then we've got the manager or the head coach, then we got the players. So if I'm understanding, the listeners, sometimes we get divided on the show, which is okay. We like a little rivalries back and forth. Correct me if I'm wrong now. It would go corporation, okay? Then you would probably have under your corporation, you probably have your advisory board, I'm going to assume. Under the advisory board, you have your quote soldiers, right? The ones that follow along, to get along, to go along, right? Or to get along, to go along, whatever the hell it is. And then you probably have your quote, your workers, which if I'm reading the room correctly, that means the bunker boys would basically be the rest of them, correct? So you have a board of directors and then you have the rest of them. That makes sense. That makes sense. It does. Matty G chimes in. Q, what does it take to be a member of the corporation? Laugh out loud. I don't know. I don't know. I don't. I mean, that's Again, I can only peel back certain layers during the show. I can't, there's certain things I just can't disclose, right? I mean, that's the ethics that are involved. Mark Walters is entering an agreement, purchase majority ownership of the Lakers from the Bus family. This is Shams, 10 billion, largest sale professional sports franchise in the world. Wow, jeez, man. I wonder all of a sudden why. I mean, that's a pretty big nut, right? That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. That's a storied. You talk about storied franchises. The Lakers, storied franchise. I mean that. I believe there are three or four storied franchises in all of North American sports. The Lakers are one of them. Lakers, Yankees. I would have to say the Packers. If you really think storied, from a historical standpoint, the Packers, the Lakers, the Yankees. Will we throw the Canadians in there? Montreal Canadiens. Like, if we're really talking about just historic franchises, you're talking about wins, you're talking about Hall of Fame players, reshaping those respective leagues. Man, that's stunning. 10 billion valuation. Wow. I didn't watch that. What was the Lakers show on After the rant, it is evident Q is on the corporation payroll. Let me say something right now. I take that comment or that accusation extremely, extremely serious. I am on no one's payroll when it comes to the listening audience. I'm not. I'm just stating something that's just clear and evident. And something, to be honest, the facto leader of the Bunker Boys, that was pointed out to me by other listeners because they're reading the room. They just feel as though the corporation, the mix of youth and enthusiasm, the youths and enthusiasm of the corporation and what they're bringing to the table during the show, it just adds value. That's all. How much would the Cowboys bring in? It's a good question. Let's see what Forbes has the Cowboys listed. Cowboys are listed at, this is 2024, 10 billion, which would have made them, I mean, the Lakers just 10 billion. So you're talking about the most valuable NFL teams. Cowboys, this is as of August 2024. This might shock you a little bit. Cowboys are 10.7 billion. The Rams are 7.6. Their operating income is 286 million. The Cowboys operating income is 564 million. The Pats are number 3. The Giants are number 4. The Jets are number 5. San Fran is number 6. Wow, I mean, teams are top of the Bunker Boys. The Raiders are number 7, and the Eagles are number 8. The Bears are number 9, and the Commanders are number 10. All those teams I mentioned, 7.6 to 6.3, and the Cowboys are 10.1. So Jerry Jones knows exactly what the hell he's doing. Corporation has never paid Q a dime. I don't remember simple receipt benefits of a corporate lifestyle. See, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I'm not on the take. That's what you're insinuating, that I'm on the take. And that's a serious allegation, by the way. Now, I can say this. We have been known to do a one-day ban of the show when it comes to some of the listeners and callers and the commenters. We've now, it's very rare. I've done a ban once in 20 plus years of being on the air and doing radio. I did a ban once, and I got to be honest, it felt good. It felt good. There was no remorse. It had to be done. It was just the clown stuff had to end. This was many moons ago. Had to nip it in the bud, and I just said enough is enough. Had to. But I think that comment, that accusation by the Bunker Boys, I'm going to have to really sit. I'm going to have to ponder this. I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to look at the archives. That comment right there, that accusation that I'm on the payroll, that might warrant a ban. It might. It might. 534. Robert chimes in Q. You threw my Packers in that list. Definitely, it's got to be Lakers, Cowboys, ooh, Packers, Yankees, and the Canadians. I'm not going to throw the Cowboys out there. Why? Because America's team. I'm not doing that. Corporation has never filtered comments either. I don't know where Angel is, by the way. I mean, it's a Wednesday. We might have to do a Martinez Monday where we get the incredible Shrinking Hermano on. Now, you guys, this is still something that's brought up to this day, and it happened like a year ago. I don't filter comments. When you guys come with the comments, we read them off, good, bad, indifferent. We have to police them a little bit because we just have to. You got to be fair here. But that was all Angel's doing. Now, I'm not trying to throw Angel under the bus. I'm not. But if some of you guys had issues that the comments were coming through and they weren't being fed properly or accurately, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to throw Angel under the bus, but we know at the time, Angel held the keys. He held the keys. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to do this. I don't. Rumor has it Angel is blasting 90s music. House music. Oh, man. Yeah. It's funny, too, because when we were talking about, and I'm wondering where ball 316 is right now. Let me see. It's 536. We were talking about where Played Again Sports was, where it used to be in Mount Laurel. And doing my due diligence and my research, I had to scour the wire a little bit. And when you Google and you get to Google Maps, you can kind of, go to the left. You can kind of go to the right. And I was a little surprised what we found in that plaza where the old PIA, Played Again Sports, used to be. All right, 536. A lot of comments coming in on the WNBA, comments on the NFL, comments on the Lakers. We'll get to them. We'll reset the table. Keep it locked in. Good stuff so far, guys. Let's finish strong. We got 20 to play. We'll take up to 6 o'clock straight up. Keep it locked into a Wednesday edition of Middays with Q right here on TriX57, as well as TriX57.com, and, of course, my YouTube channel. All right, we'll take you up to 6 o'clock. And again, it's a Wednesday edition, Middays with Q. Rich Quiñones here. We are powered by our good friends over at TriX57. Oh, my goodness. Angel and Camden, not Angel and Tampa, but Angel and Camden chiming in. Q, with the shirt and the beard, you look like Carlito Fricante. That's one of my all-time favorite movies, by the way. Carlito's Way. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. AJ chiming back in. Q, what were you insinuating? What was so secretive about that Played Again Sports? Listen, you guys do your own research, man. I'm not here to hold hands. Boston's up on Seattle 3-1. Don't forget Phil's in the Marlins tonight, 6:40 first pitch. Yankees and the Angels, 7:05 first pitch as well. So you guys are absolutely too much. Let me see. JC chimes in. Q, you're really not going to mention Neighbors in his toe? Laugh out loud. No, I'm not. No. He's got a toe issue, so he's going to miss a little bit of time. He's a great player. All these reports coming out of Giants camp is that Russell Wilson is just cooking. He's marinating. He's sizzling. He's slinging it. He might be their best option going forward. We shall see. Neighbors is a beast, man. He's a beast. 109 catches, 1,200 yards last year. Now you think you got a serviceable quarterback. I'm not really. I'm not worried too much about that. Again, you got June, you got all of July, and then August. So, yeah. So the Lakers. That's a big move by that Lakers franchise. We talked a lot about the Florida Panthers going back to back, winning the Stanley Cup. Future of Connor McDavid. Dabbled a little baseball today. I'm still, the remnants of that Castellanos benching. Some of you guys are still commenting in. You guys are getting so. I'm going back and I'm trying to get through some of these baseball comments on X. And I just, again, with all due respect, no one knows what was said or what wasn't said, period. Now, he came out and he mentioned again, why he benched him, right? Listen, you got to handle a situation the way you feel is best. Okay. And you guys are joking like Sully's chiming in Q. The guy got his feelings hurt, right? Phil's Eagles throwback on Twitter chimes in Q. Always enjoying the show. Was looking for the video. Can't see it. My man is always clutch. But why would you bench him right now? Castellanos is not always clutch. And again, you guys are making this out to be something bigger than it really is. Kevin chimes in Q. I bet you he said something sarcastic about getting pulled. That's probably what happened. That's probably exactly what happened. Q, did you Smart J chimes in. Q, did you actually watch the video? I haven't. He went on to say, you got to love the passion in Bobby's voice right there. He's so fired up. Love the passion. He's over the nonsense. Okay. Listen, baseball is an emotional game. The Phillies right now have not been playing well. They're only 2 games back in the Mets in the NL East. Like, let's just pump the brakes. Guys get benched. It happens. Period. That's all. I think ball 316 is in Mount Ephraim at the all-white building, the White House. 541. Ooh, that's a little dicey, right? That is definitely a little dicey. Man chimes in with a little more troll. Corporation considering a cell phone call company with a platinum phone and service. 8647. That's not bad. That way, de facto leader of the Bunker Boys and some of you other guys, when you cut the cord with these games, because we know the games are going to go a la carte, you save some money. 8647, not a bad plan. That's not. That really isn't. Start to get a phone bill that's like $130, $140 a month. Are you kidding me? I mean, if you got a couple different phones on the plan, that's one thing, but that's outrageous. It's not as bad as Comcast. Don't get me started on Comcast. You're talking 3 and some change. That's highway robbery. I mean, that should be outlawed. It really should. We're all going to go, everyone's going to cut the cord. And I told you, you're going to start viewing these games totally differently. You're going to view these games in a way that we haven't streamed sports in a long time. And everything is going, and it's pretty much already right now being that, a la carte. Q, you're telling me that in a time I have Luka and LeBron in a Laker uniform and they're selling the team. VS6 chimes in. Q, what do they think? Do you think they evaluated Bronny at $10 billion? Come on, man. That's ridiculous. That's utterly ridiculous. It's a great franchise. It really is. There's a handful of really good franchises in sports, and the Lakers are one of them. I mean, they've had such a run. I mean, when can you really say the Lakers were, even when in the late 80s as they got older, and then you look at, say, the early 90s, and they still went to the NBA Finals. Remember, they beat the Bulls in Game 1 before the Bulls ripped off 4 straight. That was when Sam Perkins hit the 3. Silky smooth with the left hand hit the 3. Sam Perkins, by the way, wasn't me, or did Sam Perkins always look like he was stoned? Sam Perkins always looked like he was smoking and joking when he was playing the game. But the Lakers, you're talking that 91, right? They won 58 games that year and lost to the Bulls in five. Then the next season, they made the playoffs. They made the playoffs again. They missed the playoffs in 93, 94. But then, again, I'm talking about lulls, right? That's when you have great franchises, you rarely have lulls. 94, 95, 95, 96, 96, 97, 97, 98. They got swept by a very good Utah team. 90, they're making the playoffs 90. They won the championship, 99, 2000. That was a dynasty. I mean, let's back up for a second. We're talking about the Florida Panthers with back to back. 1990, 2000 Los Angeles Lakers, they won 67 games. They ripped through Sacramento. They ripped through Phoenix. They beat the Portland Trailblazers. I think that was a 7-game series. And then they beat the Pacers in 6. Really not competitive. 2000, 2001, that's when they lost game 1 of the NBA Finals to the Sixers, and then they won 4 straight. Then they got back and they beat the Nets in 4 games and swept them. That's a dynasty. They went back. We forget about that Lakers squad. They went back to back to back. That team was stacked. That team was a great, great team. They really were, man. I mean, you got Shaq, you got Kobe, you got Fox, you got George, you got Fish. They were ridiculous. They were ridiculous. They had veteran guys. Remember Mitch Richmond? They had Brian Shaw, right? That was just an absolute. They had the Mad Dog Madsen from Stanford. He was a rookie that year. Robert Horry knocking down shots, Big Shot Bob. That's a dynasty. But my point is, you're talking about historic franchises. That team consistently was making the playoffs. Now, they lost a couple years later to that Pistons team that was kind of like, we talk about those teams that had the 1-2 punch. I think Jonathan Marshall brought it up. I think you guys have mentioned in the past, a team that wins a championship and they don't have all these sexy players or like a real, true, legit guard, small guard. That team, I mean, how about this lineup? Ready? Chucky Atkins. They had Billups, Hubert Davis, Rip Hamilton, Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace. Remember Bobby Sura, the high flyer from Florida State, the big nasty Carlos Williamson. I mean, that team, you had maybe 1 or 2 really good players, and they won a championship. They beat the Lakers. But the Lakers were just consistently making the playoffs and consistently getting to Western Conference Finals and NBA Finals. That's, to me, when you start to talk about storied franchises. Now, if we really want to shorten the list and go 1-2, it's got to be the Lakers and it's got to be the Yankees. Has to. What about Nick the Quick years, Eddie Jones years, maybe around 5-10 games over 500? You're talking about Van Exel? Yeah, but so those years were, let me see, Van Exel. He was a good player. I always thought Nick Van Exel was underrated, man. I really did. I always thought he was underrated. I'd love to watch. Remember, he played in Cincinnati. Didn't they make like a Sweet 16 and Elite 8? You're talking about 93, 94-ish, 94, 95-ish. Let me pull it up real quick, man. 93, 94, under 500. 94, 95, they lost in the Western Conference semis to San Antonio. 95, 96, lost in the Western Conference Finals first round. 96, 97, conference semis, and then lost in the finals to the Jazz the prior year. So that was the Del Harris, who, by the way, resembled Leslie Nielsen. Naked Gun reboot. It's coming out. It is coming out, whether you guys like it or not. We go from Leslie Nielsen to Liam Neeson. Wait, Liam Neeson. Yeah. How about that? You go to Leslie Nielsen. Wow, I didn't think about that. You go to Leslie Nielsen to Liam Neeson for Naked Gun and the Naked Gun reboot. I mean, talk about, what is it? 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, LN. That looks horrible, by the way. You know, Liam Neeson is a really good actor, but I'm not sticking him in comedy. I can't do it. Why are we touching the classics? Why? Why do we have to mess with these classics? Spaceballs 2? Just no. No, leave it alone. You don't mess with the Schwartz. You don't. You just leave it alone. We don't need to go. Coming to America 2. I'm going to be really upset if they ever try to do a Trading Places 2. They're not going to do it, but they can't. You can't touch that classic. Movies that you should not try to make remakes or reboot. Naked Gun's one of them. Spaceballs is another one. Trading Places, can't do it. Coming to America, leave it alone. Even Beverly Hills Cop, Axel Foley was and you had one was great. 2 and 3, not so good. Spaceballs 2 will be good. Hey, listen, I'm gonna be watching it. That's a classic. Now the question is, because we are such a PC society right now, do you believe Mel Brooks will be able to get away with half the stuff he got away with? When was Spaceballs? 1986? 1987? So you're talking what? 30, 40 something years ago? Oh, man. I didn't see the has the trailer came out? Let me see. I'm trying to pull up everything you need to know about Spaceballs 2. Oh, they're going to add a legacy character. They have to get the guy that made all the noises. He was the best. The beeps and the bloops and the blops, right? Lone Star, you know, jamming the radar. No, they won't. Oh, the writing in that movie was absolutely brilliant. It was absolutely superb, man. Oh my goodness. Let me see what we have here. It stinks is that John Candy passed away. So, wow, 40 years ago, the original. Spaceballs 2 will include cast members from the original Spaceballs movie. Uh, Bill Pullman is expected to appear as Lone Star again. Here's a random thought, by the way. I always confuse Pullman and Paxman, right? Always. Always. Uh, I don't think you can do. I don't think you can do Goonies 2. I can't. You can't do that. You're gonna bring back Schloth, right? Yeah, I saw that. Sanders, what was that? 101 miles per hour? Not good. And what was it? A 60-mile zone? Where's Vince? He was clock going 101 on I-71. That was about 25 minutes ago. See, and the irony is we're talking. I brought up Henry Ruggs. Now everyone is going to make a big deal of this, and rightfully so, because the last thing Sanders and the Browns want is unwanted attention. Right now, we've all gotten speeding tickets in our life. Okay. So it's not the worst offense a person can commit. So again, I'm not old man on the porch. Just hear me out. But is this going to, and again, I'm just throwing it out there. I even hate to bring this up because I know it's just going to fire people up before we get out of here. You don't want to draw unwanted attention to yourself. You don't. You don't. You just don't. So again, it's like, okay, now the perception, he's immature. I'm saying what this will lead. Well, the Lakers story should lead, it better lead at 6 o'clock on the Talking Heads on the mothership on the networks when we get out of here. But I guarantee you, Sanders is going to be a close second, right? Because you don't want to turn around and give anyone the wrong idea, the perception, the optics. Now someone's going to come out and say, see, the kid's immature. The kid got a speeding ticket. I mean, was he going too fast? Yeah, that's reckless. That's reckless. That's absolutely reckless. So, that's I don't even know what the Browns are going to say. A corporation has ties with the New Jersey FOP. Well, that's a good thing. Work the magic, man. Welcome to Cleveland, boys. When I lived in Ohio, I lived in a town in Dayton, Ohio called Kettering, and I worked in News Talk 1290 WHIO. And that's where Dan Patrick started, because Dan Patrick's an Ohio guy. I remember the second week I was there, and I had the old fashioned, the beep, beep, beep radar detector. We didn't have the GPS crap. I mean, I'm going back. This was 99. I left right around this time in the summer. Just packed up and let me go. Lived in my car for a couple of days. It is what it is. Took a radio job for like $8 an hour. Smart move. But anyway, I lived in this town called Kettering. And I remember I asked someone, hey, I have to go grocery shopping. Do you have like a Mart, a ShopRite, an Acme? They're like, yeah, just, go down a couple streets and it's right there on your left. You can't miss it. It's a big parking lot. It's off to the side, a lot of parking. There's a little tavern on the right. I forget. It was like cold beer and cheeseburgers. A great place, by the way. You can't miss it. Okay. I wrote it down anyway. It was only 10 minutes from where I was living, where I was renting out this basement apartment. And for some inexplicable reason, 10 minutes flies by, 15 minutes flies by, 20 minutes fly by. And I'm like, what am I doing here? And I don't know the main highway in Ohio. It's like a major, I don't know if it's like an I-80, I-76, I-90. I have no idea what the hell it was. It might have been I-71, like the north-south corridor. All I know, about 45 minutes in, I'm like, where the heck is this store? Where the heck is this store, right? An hour later, I'm finding myself on my way to Cleveland. I mean, I got lost. Yeah, Kettering, Ohio. Yep. In Montgomery County, Ohio, where it snowed in September. And that's when I basically said, yeah, I'm not a fan here. All right, got to start wrapping it up on a Wednesday. So how about that? You got the Panthers going back to back, McDavid in limbo, Lakers being sold, Sanders going 101, brawls in the WNBA, Phillies benching players. I mean, that's where we're at in June. And then we turn the calendar to July in a couple weeks, and we're going to go football heavy. Tomorrow, Lloyd Vann's going to join us in the 5 o'clock hour. We're going to continue to look around the NFL, NFC, divisional matchups, divisional win totals. I will give you quickly the picks tonight, very fast. Tigers minus 310 on the money line over the Pirates. The pitching better at home for the Tigers than on the road. Yankees, the bats are going to wake up tonight, 225 over the Angels. Yarborough's pitching. WNBA, there you go, Jovan. WNBA, the Mercury over the Suns, minus 14 and a half. Excellent job with the commenting engagement. If I didn't get you on Facebook or on X, I promise I'll respond to you guys in a timely fashion. Tomorrow, again, we'll see if we can get my guy, Angel Martinez, Lloyd Vance. Friday, John Bueller. Next Monday, going to talk a little soccer, a little World Cup with my guy, Larry Henry from the Athletic. That'll be a good spot. We're going to mix in a little MMA, a little boxing on Wednesday as well. Tuesday, Steve Gardner on USA Today on baseball. As always, lock us in. Follow TriX57 online. Get social with us. TriX57 on Facebook, IG, and X. Log on to TriX57.com. Follow me, IGX, at Rich Q on Q, TikTok, Rich Q on the mic. Don't forget, tomorrow I'll have the TriX57 Sports Flash. We get that out right around 11:30 in the morning. So follow along on the Facebook page. Keep the station, keep the streaming platform locked in your browser, in your URL. Everyone have a wonderful Sports Wednesday. Late night, again, in baseball. We'll recap everything tomorrow. NFL on a Thursday. Be safe, be sound. As always, I'm Rich Quiñones. And as we like to say, on a woosah Wednesday, and it has been a woosah Wednesday, be safe, be sound. Hasta luego, buen dia. And everyone have a very good day. Have a very good night. And we will talk to you tomorrow from 4 to 6.